this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is my only bonsai repot for this year. I haven't got any others to do, and of course it would be the tree that opens its leaves last, so we've had to wait until May for this thing to actually do its thing. But I'll have to mix up some media for the tree because I haven't got any left from other times. I'm pretty sure I haven't anyway, so we'll have to mix that up. Now you'll realise that I'm puffed out. I haven't done anything yet. I'm not well. I've basically got what I believe is a dose of sinusitis. It's got other names, not very polite. Basically, I think brought on by a heavy dose of the oak tree pollen that I spent a lot of time in not yesterday, the day before. And yesterday I was bad. Headache, eyes streaming. My nose was playing notes. You know, I mean, at times there were two different notes going on. I had harmonies. Anyway, and I'd also hurt my back messing around with the car. So we were not in a good state. Now, unfortunately, with bonsai repots, there comes a time where there is a short window and it has to be done, and that's what I'm doing now. As I said, I get out of breath just by thinking about standing up or sitting down at the moment. But I'll put up with it because, you know, this is not that, well, shouldn't be that strenuous. Wait till we get it out of the pot and see what the roots are like. Right, so the stuff that I've got, I don't have oodles and oodles of tools and electrical gadgets and all stuff like that. I just have the basics. So for messing about with the roots and getting the old media out, I have a hook. Well, that comes in very useful. And I have a rake. So that's my messing about with the roots. My other messing about with the roots is a pair of root shears. Now, I do have pruning scissors, but I use these for trimming my orchids. They are very sharp, stainless steel with long handles, and are very easy to get into tiny little places. Messing with roots with those would probably take the edge off the blades, so that doesn't get done. However, with these have got like reinforced blades, and you can hack away with these and they don't tend to go blunt. And if they do, you can sharpen them. So that's for messing with the roots. I will need to wire the tree in the pot, so I've got some wire and my wire cutters. So I'm getting this all out of here because the tree's got to go in here. And then in case we have to do any pruning, I've got my little knob cutter and my branch cutter and of course my pruning scissors over there. So that's my gear. I've also got a bit of the this stuff that goes over the drainage holes. That one came out of an old pot. Might not be big enough for the holes in this pot. I don't know till we get the tree out. This might seem a little odd, but it's going back in the same pot. The main reason is the only pots that I've got that are slightly bigger, which would be nice, are much shallower. And that's the problem with the pot I've got. Because the roots have pushed the tree up almost out of the pot, I can't get enough water in there. So replacing the media should do it. So I suppose you're going to want to look at the tree, aren't you? Now, that's heavy. Right, so I've been waiting for the window. Now, have you all got your best singing voices on? Yesterday, all the leaves were brown and the sky was grey. And today it's Mr. Blue Sky. This lot opened up basically in less than 24 hours. So the buds have burst, some of the leaves are almost open in full. There wasn't a sign of green on this yesterday morning when I looked. There is now. So as you can see, the window is tiny, because if it can do that in 24 hours, what would it do in 2 or 3 days? It would be fully in leaf. and that's gone a bit beyond the point that you ought to be taking it to bits. So anyway, this is that's an ant, we don't want that. I don't mind ants, but I don't want them in the grow room because it's basically part of the house. So that's the tree. It's quite a... You can't see the tree, can you? I'm always forgetting to do this. I need to move the camera in a moment. My head isn't working as well as it should because it's all bunged up. Right, so this is my beech tree. Now, my plans for this are to get it to be a little bit taller, which is why I left this last year. Yeah, I decided, well, one of these two forks is going to have to be the extension upwards, and this one seemed the best one, so I chopped this one off. But I still left a branch in case I change my mind. But I'm reasonably certain this one will probably do. So basic branch structure. We've nearly got a pair of handlebars at the bottom, but not quite. Now this branch over here is... Beech is very difficult to ramify, mainly because of when the buds open. I mean, if you look at this bud here, there's at least 5 leaves in that bud. Yeah? And it's all on the ends, and that's what they do. We will push it back a bit. So we've got our bottom 2 branches. I'm not quite sure whether... Yeah, actually I think that might make a better front. Yeah, we can't have this as the front because this sticks out. However, if we turn this round and have this as the front, the handlebars look less obvious. This does look a bit higher than this one from this angle. The base isn't bad, and then this third branch is effectively a sort of back branch. And then we get another decent branch here that's sort of split, quite extensive. And then we've got another branch round here which has got some pieces sticking out sideways. Then we're heading upwards. We're getting to smaller branches now, and then we've got the extension up on the top here. Yeah, so I don't want any more branches. Physical branches are okay as they are, but we do need to get some better ramification. And it is said that in some cases, if you trim the ends off the branches and take the energy out of these 5 or 6 leads and the extensions that it will produce, it'll put more energy into the buds farther back. So we will do that. But let's get it repotted first. So first job is get it out of the pot. Oh boy, is that going to be fun. So we'll cut the wire up here, and then hopefully it'll either pull back through or pull up through, one or the other. Right, now we can have a look underneath and see what we've got here. I didn't bring my heavy duty pliers out, never mind. We'll see if brute force can do it without the tools. I'd just like to get these 2 pieces of wire out. Oh, there's one. And there's the other. Right, so this should just lift out now. There we go. Oh, crikey. I'm not having them in the grow room. So I've got slugs and very large spiders in here, none of which I want in my grow room with the orchids. And got wood lice, we've got slugs, and all this is because the roots have pushed the plant up, leaving a gap underneath. It's funny how people think of slugs as really slow moving. Not really. Not when they want to get out of the way, they can get a move on. Right, anything still moving in here? We've still got some that I managed to get out. Right, so we got one of these. The other one must be stuck to the bottom of the tree. Yes. Got this complete hollows in under here. No wonder there's so much flipping wildlife. Right, I'm going to give this a good bang. And then I'm going to put it on in the middle of the floor where I can see anything that escapes, because it will have loads of space around it. Alright, how are we doing then? Scrape around the pot. That's that. That'll do, that's clean enough for that. Let's get this wire out. That will get thrown away separately. Well, I don't think there's much left moving now. Right, I shall just empty that outside. Bodies and bits and pieces, because I will be well, I should be getting the old media off first, so that'll make a mess, and then we'll have a clear up and get some new media mixed up from somewhere, goodness knows where. So I know people with lots of trees have probably got workshops and everything set up with everything they need permanently set up. You know, when you've only got 15 trees, and like this year there's only one to repot, all my stuff gets put away, out of the way, and then it has to come back again when I want to do something. Saw some movement on the floor then. Nope. Right, we'll I don't know whether this is going to work. If we put our turntable on top of that pot, that gets the base up at a more workable height. See what I mean? I can't do much nowadays before the breathing goes. It's the first thing to go. Right, so let's see what we can do here. That's hardly touching that, so let's try the root hook. This has been in this pot a very, very long time. It's on the repot list 2 years ago. Got missed, it was on the repot list last year. Got missed again because the window was badly missed and the thing was in full leaf. So it got left again. And last year I had serious trouble trying to hydrate it because the water was just running off. And obviously you can see it was getting down inside the pot, down the sides and just running out the bottom. So it wasn't hydrating at all well. You can tell this was repotted a long time ago because of the mix. This has actually got some macadamia mixed in with it. I haven't had any of that for years. Certainly don't use it nowadays, it's far too expensive. I have a tree that I bought last year at the Staverton boot sale thing that they do in the field. Lovely event to go to. And basically that tree is in Acadama, but it came from Colette. She said it hasn't long been in the pot, so it can stay in it for now, but it will come out. The tree needs to go in, it's in the shade at the moment, it's just coming into bloom actually. A separate video. But basically that will go on the repot list for next year. I don't like Acadama simply because a lot of my trees spend their time in full sun. I don't have shelter. My trees just stay out and they're exposed year round. So they don't get any cover in the winter or anything. And that's how I work. I mean most of my trees are English natives, so you know they put up with it. But I mean I've had -8 out in the garden for a few days, consecutive days. So the pots were frozen solid. Tree survived. Haven't lost a tree. Well, not due to cold anyway. I haven't actually lost a tree for some time. Anyway, this is going to take ages. I'm not filming all of it. It's terribly boring. So what I'll do is I'll get the media off, have a clear up, and then we'll come back and have a look at what's left, and then we'll go from there. But as I said, it's going back in the same pot because other pots that I've got are roughly the same size but tend to be a bit shallower. I've got one really deep pot, but that's quite a bit smaller, and it would look too small for the size of this tree, so it would look out of proportion, but it would be a good pot for the tree because of its depth. But yeah, this looks quite nice in the pot it's in. I like the nice blue, so we'll work with that. So I'll shut down and I'll be back. Right. An hour later, with 2 breaks, exhausted. Good job this doesn't come round very often. The main reason this was exhausting was leaving it too long and allowing it to grow anchor roots like that into the main media. These are not required. They don't feed the tree. It's these fine roots you want. Now some of the nabari is actually made up of roots that have got no growth. They've been cut off. They can still stay there because when they're in the media they'll look as though they're growing. So I didn't take them off. But yeah, I mean, you've got roots like this coming round here and going, that went right down and round and up the middle. So made life very difficult. And I've taken it back. I've undercut it, so I've actually taken off some of the things so it should go deeper in the pot. Be able to get some media on the surface as well as underneath. And I've gone back in a fair bit in places, not everywhere because this is just solid and there are large roots in amongst it. So I've gone round and I've trimmed, and we have a much smaller base to the tree. And if you compare it with the pot it's going back in, you can see how much has come off. Yeah? And it will go back in with enough room for media all round, underneath, and some on the surface in places where there are some gaps. That will do. Note to self and lesson: don't leave stuff in the pot too long, especially when it grows roots like that. As I said, if that had been done 2 years ago, there'd have been a lot less major stuff like this to deal with. You can't scrape roots when you've got things like that going across your way. Right, so I'll have a clear up and try and find some media. I've got some garden compost somewhere, I've got some horticultural grit, I've also got some ornamental grit to go just to surface dress, and I've got some orchid bark of various sizes. I'm not going to add perlite because it's white and it doesn't look right to me. So we'll get this cleared up, and we'll get some media sorted out, and then we'll get this pot set up with the little these bits over the top of the holes. We'll get there in a minute. We haven't got a name for them really, have we? You know, an actual name for what one of those could be called, so that people knew what we were on about. Fiddly little bits that go over the holes. That'll do. And we'll get this potted up. This bit won't take long. As I said, that's an hour's work, and exhausting work, and needed breaks. That's not necessarily based on how hard it was, it's just my health doesn't allow for doing that sort of thing. So again, I'll be back. Right, we're back. We've had a tidy up. We've had another rest as a consequence of lifting the heavy bags of media. So it goes on. I'll go over the media as I get it. I've got a little pot to use as a measurer so that I get rough proportions. I'm not one of these that has a scientific recipe that has to be measured out in, you know, tiny little proportions, and I don't do all that. I sort of think beech trees grow almost anywhere. They like the top of chalk hills, but they can grow in many places. As a consequence, I don't think they're that fussy what they grow in. They'll be okay, and this will be okay. Right, so we will start with the basic ingredients, which in this case is peat-free, multi-purpose compost, and it's got a little bit of added John Innes. It's going to get some more. So I'll get it and we'll mix it up here. Well, the trouble is I never know how much I'm going to want. So I'm going to start with a very basic amount. I suppose if it's left over, and it can just go on the garden or be put in one of the garden tubs. So that's the basic multi-purpose compost. So one of those I'm going to have 1.5, because I don't think that's going to be enough. So we'll have 1.5 of that, which means we need 1.5 of grit. Now I'm sure some people are thinking that's far too much grit. So don't forget, if you used Akadama, that's the equivalent of virtually all grit. several people have told me, you know, good bonsai people, when I used to be a member of a society in the old days, they said they mix up your basic compost, whatever you're going to use. Now I need some John Innes with that to get a bit of body, and I have some separately here, and with that amount that we've done, I'm going to go half, just that and a bit. So the thing is, if I put too much John Innes in there, it becomes quite claggy dirt, which when we get, you know, long rainy periods, it's a bit too much really. Make sure we've got no lumps. There we go. So this is the basic, and I was told that once you do your basic mix, you need to listen to it. If you can't hear it, you haven't got enough grit. That's what I was told. It should scrunch. And that means you've got enough grit. Now my logic is, because I don't like having to water every single day unless I have to. If I use Akadama, you take away your choices, you just have to. Because unless it's actually chucking it down with rain, it will dry out in half a day a lot of the time. So that's why I've never used it. I've used it up. I did have some originally, and I used it up as a form of sort of grit and drainage. So the grit is mainly for drainage. The John Innes is to give it a bit of body, you know, a bit of food for a while. And the multi-purpose compost, again, we'll add some food in to feed the tree for a while. So this tree won't get any additional food for probably 6 weeks, because there'll be enough in here, more than enough. You have to bear in mind we've just taken off a lot of its roots. Right, so that's what we've got, and I'm reasonably certain that's not going to be enough. Let's see how far we get. I can always mix some more, can't I? So we'll shove that over to one side. The trouble is, it looks like a lot until you start packing it down, and then it's all gone. Right. Let's get my tree to one side for a minute, because we need to do our little doodahs, little bits of mesh. Now while you're there, think up a name. What do you want to call these? I don't think I've ever read that in a book, what you know, an actual name, what these are actually called. We can make up names for them. That's big enough. That's more than big enough. And the thing I often forget is putting the base wires in to hold the tree. I often get the tree in and get it all positioned and get all the media in, and then think, oh blow it, I didn't put the wires in. So with these we also do the wire. Right, now if I can remember how to do these little butterflies, you do a little ring, and you come across and do another one like that, so you've got two little rings, and then the feet, that one goes over there I think, and that one goes over there. These two little dangly bits are what you use to go into the hole. Now the drainage holes on this part are quite large, so yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to start doing it this way, so that the wire's on the outside. You can do it either way. You can either put these in from the inside, or you can put them in from the outside. And just find some holes that are roughly the right place, like that. Make sure it's nice and flat, and then just bend these bits over and that's nice and firm, and that stops the media going out of the hole, and it stops other unwanted guests coming in. Well, it does for a while anyway. After a while, unfortunately, the roots get a hold of these bits, and then you start getting the pot. Why am I taking the wire out of here to put it in another piece of plastic? Why don't we just use this piece? Duh. I'd say more coffee, but it's the wrong time of day for coffee. We don't do coffee after lunch, or I don't anyway. It's a strange thing actually. I mean, it's blatantly obvious that certainly a high caffeine content in the evening is going to keep you awake. And if you go out for a meal, what's the last thing you have? Nice strong coffee, yeah? You go home to bed and you're like, your eyeballs are bouncing off the walls. A daft idea. So I don't have coffee after lunch. And it's silly really, it shouldn't make any difference because I have decaf. So it hasn't got any caffeine in it anyway. Nonetheless, it's a habit I've just got into. Oh, come on, concentrate. You see what I mean? Now the expression is, oh, he's tired. Yeah, well, I am. Not being well and being under the weather knocks it out of you. And this, quite honestly, was a job I would have preferred to lay off until I feel nice and comfy again. But then this tree would have been in full leaf. I would have missed the window again. It was bad enough as it was now, but to have missed the window again would have been very difficult to cope with. Right, so that's that. Now we need some wire to hold the tree in the pot once we get it in there. So we need a piece of wire. Oh, it's still got wildlife. We need a piece of wire that's going to be long enough to come over the top and join and round the outside of the tree. So something like that. It's better to have too much than too little. If you've got too little, then the piece of wire is wasted. So it's better to have too much. So we'll have one, and then probably the next one's going to use it all up. There won't be much left, will there? But I used to use really thin wire for this, and you start pulling it tight and you end up snapping it because there's just no strength in it. So and sometimes you really do have to give it a heave-ho to make sure it pulls the tree right down onto the media. Right, so that's our 2 bits of wire. Oh, ow. We shouldn't be doing lifting. I started with a bad back, I'm going to have a really bad back now. So we come up through here. Come on, let's see what I'm doing here. Up through there like that. And then I always have a crossover. So I'll go like that and then like that if I can. So we'll pull that up. And then we'll find a place for this on the opposite side. So there-ish. Pull that up through. And then we go underneath and make sure it's flat. Because I've actually got a twist in it before now, and it's not so good. Right, bend that. Get those out of the way, like that. Right, where's my other bit? There it is. Right, so up through that corner, somewhere like there. Other end up through the opposite corner. Now underneath these two wires are forming a cross. They're actually crossing over each other so that they can go to opposite corners. Check that everything's sort of flat. Yes, that's good. Right, so that's that. Now it's always traditional to not bury the wildlife, to start with a layer. Oh, come on Roger, concentrate, I really am tired, I'm not thinking straight. Get out. The first layer is pure grit. The reason for that is it is ultimate drainage. Where's my little pot for measuring? There it is. Yes, we want a layer of grit so that water can't settle in the bottom of the pot. It's going to run out through holes. Right, I haven't done this for a while. When you do 3 or 4 on the trot, you make all your mistakes in the first one, and then you don't normally make them ever again. Well, not in the potting session you're doing anyway. But as I said, I haven't repotted anything for a while. I think the last big tree I repotted was my Deshojo maple. That was quite hard work as well, but not as hard work as this, because I didn't get such big thick roots. Right. We've got a wire in, we've got a grit in, now we can go. And we start with a mound. Yeah, we want a layer all over so that everything's covered. And then we want a bit of a mound in the middle, sort of like that. And then we wiggle the tree on top of that and see how it fits. Oof! And we decided on that being a back branch, so we're looking here. About like that, I think. Now, should I offset that very slightly? I think I will. A lot of people say that if you offset a tree from the centre, and where you get your first major upright section of the trunk, that's the bit that's in the middle of the pot. So I will slide that over very slightly, so it's slightly offset. Right, now this is where we find out whether we have got enough or not. Probably not. Now, there's several things that could have been done, having got all of the worst of the media off, that other people might do, and I'll explain why I don't. A lot of people would have probably taken their tree out to their outside tap and got the hose on it and washed off every bit of old media. Now I think along the lines that there's pretty good evidence that trees use beneficial fungi and microbes in the soil to help them absorb nutrients. If you wash all the old media off and use new media, you haven't got any of that. So that's why I don't get the hose on it. I never have. It's just something I don't do. Far more important for conifers, pines, because you know they don't feed that well at all without that beneficial, I can never remember the word, mycelium or mycelium or something. They need it. They don't feed very well without it at all, so it's an absolute essential. So Now I don't need to bring this media right up to the top of the tree because I'm going to put a layer of ornamental grit on the top. But I need to leave a good lip so that when I water this up here, the water runs down and soaks in rather than runs off, which was what was happening before. Right, now let's see if we can tie it in there somehow. I think the wire went across there before, so we could see if we can put it across at the same place. And it's black wire, it doesn't show that much. So I'm just looking for a place where I can bury the twisty bit. So that's quite firm, that's quite firm. Pull it tight, put a twist in it. And then go and get the big pliers, the only tool I forgot to bring out. Don't mess this floor's in still. It'll hoover up. Right, so that's pulled it. Now trim the poke in the eye bits off. We don't want them. Now we can get the pliers in from the top and give it a good pull and twist. Nice and firm, and then we can bury that. That can go down there. Oh. Right. So we can get this to grab hold coming from this way. Thing is, ideally this should go the other side of the trunk. Let's see if we can come round here. We can get this root held then. Tight, tight. Where your twist bit is doesn't matter. The tension's the same. Doesn't have to be in the middle. It can be off to the side. Tension's the same wherever it is. You're pulling a circle of wire, aren't you? And this is where the confidence in your work comes in, because they say if you've done that properly you should be able to pick the tree up. Shall we try it? Yeah. Of course. I have had one where I picked it up like that and seen it move. It didn't come out or anything, but it did move, so it wasn't that, it wasn't as tight as I thought it was. Right, so all of those roots that have been trimmed will now try and find a place to grow into, and hopefully there's enough new media around where those trimmed roots are for them to get into, pick up some food and grow some feeder roots. So that's what we've done. Right, I shall just nip out now and get some ornamental grit. We'll spread that over the top. We will then give it a good water, and it will stay in the shade for a short while, possibly a week, maybe two, you know, just to get these leaves open. I'm going to actually give this a trim before I take it back outside. So we'll go and get the grit, and then we'll give the tree a trim. I don't know whether one will be enough, but we'll give it a go. This helps stop the weeds. It doesn't stop the weeds, it helps stop the weeds. They still get in there, and so does that horrible star-shaped moss. Evil stuff. But it helps. Oh. Right, so where's me? Turntable. Just need to be able to spin this around for a bit while what I want to do is take the energy out of the places where I don't want it, which is a spring trim basically, but now's a good time to do it. As I've said, some of these end buds will produce 5 leaves very fast, and they'll get away. They'll extend, and they take the energy right down the branch for their needs basically. So it's no good there, pointing upwards and almost touching the branch above. We'll take that off. Come round here, we'll take that off. So I want this tree to be fuller, and we've got a distinct gap here, so I might have to get some wire on this back branch here and actually sort of turn it a bit sideways, sort of like that. And you have to go careful with beech, so it's a bit brittle. Take these ends off. So I'll take that branch off, take the whole thing off. That'll have to come off. So we've got a branch here that's extending right out to here. That's going to produce 5 leaves and a shoot about that long. It's got no back buds at all. So that turns this into quite a weak branch, but it has got a piece back here. But this bit's not much good. I don't like wiring beech. It's very easy to leave quite bad scars. Now over here, this is my very full first branch. This is a good first branch. This could come down a bit. Yeah, you could actually put a wire round the pot. But it's out of balance with the amount that's sticking out that side. So it needs to come back in. We need to bring it in. We'll put some energy into the back of the things. I mean, this is what I'm getting at. If you look at that, look how many leaves are inside that bud. I think there's actually 7 inside that one, and they will all grow like mad this time of year. Well, if you let them. And sometimes that's just what you want. But the trouble is, I've got a lot of branches sticking up with no buds, only the one on the end. So trying to get ramification out of that is incredibly difficult. We just have to work at it. Try and go back to where there's a fork, where there's 2 buds, and then spread the energy down those 2 buds. if you can. And they say, I've seen it once on this tree, that if you do your spring trim, like I'm doing now, take the energy out of the leaders, you will get more energy in the buds behind, and sometimes you get back budding as well. And now that's a real bonus. Now this branch that comes out here comes right out to here. I can't keep that out there. You know, the basic line of the tree is totally spoilt by that, so I've got to take quite a chunk off there. It's a shame, that was growing nicely. And then again up here, the top's got to come back in or it's out of balance with the bottom. So we've got to look at trying to regain a balance here. Do we want that branch coming across the trunk? We don't really, do we? Go back to there, see what that little bud does. Now it's got all the energy all to itself. Let's see what that will do. Come back in about there. This was allowed to grow a bit last year, so it has sort of extended quite a bit in places. Which was the bit I was going to use as a leader? It was this one, wasn't it? Yes. Right, then we need to probably get some wire on that. So as the trunk goes back there, starts to come forward again, slopes back, and then we want this to come forward and sort of bow to the front and become a top of the tree. So I'll need to do that in the not too distant future. I'm going to leave it on for now because it's flexible enough to wire at the end of the year, which is the most sensible time to do it. If you wire at the start of the year, you'll push all the growth into where your wire is and it'll bite on. You leave it till the end of the year when all the swelling is finished, then it can stay there for the whole winter and hopefully do its job. Yep, I'm happy with that. Any bits that I've missed that I'm not happy with, I'll get at a later time. So a rather exhausting session, a very messy session. Now while I was waggling this tree around trying to get these roots off, I was thinking to myself, I'm bashing all the buds. I bet I've knocked loads of buds off. One. One. I'll live with that. So there we go. Now that compost was very, very gently damp. So I could go without watering this for a while, but I will give it a good water in. Make sure those roots have got media all around them, nice and soaked in, and then hopefully they'll get moving. So there we go, that's what the tree looks like. Basic shape here. It's a little bit negative here. But it's not bad, it's not bad. I'm quite pleased with it. And when it's in leaf it looks absolutely gorgeous because beech leaves are one of the best greens that there is. New beech leaves, you know, you go for a walk in a beech wood with the bluebells and everything, and the sun filtering through, that's one of the best greens you will ever see. And it lasts about 3 or 4 weeks. Anyway, so that's the one and only repot for me for this year. And I know it's probably a very long video, but make the most of it. You're not going to get another one till at least next late winter, early spring, and we'll see. I don't know yet. Don't think that far ahead, quite honestly. But that's reused what I like as a nice pot, so I haven't used any of my other pots. I haven't got a huge stock of pots. Why would I need a huge stock of pots when I've only got 14, 15 trees? Don't need loads of spare pots. I've still got quite a few plastic ones that I got dirt cheap. I'll probably never use them because I don't like them. I'd rather have a proper bonsai pot. Even in the early days, if you're going to put something in a training pot, if you've got a spare bonsai pot that's the right size, why not just use it? So anyway, that's me done. Now I'm going to finalise my back pane by getting these bags back out and putting everything back sort of where it was, because I've had to move so much around outside. With the decking falling apart and having to be put back together, everything's had to be moved. So all the stuff that lives in the garden, like my nice bonsai stands and everything, everything's in the wrong place. And it is becoming tedious. Right, so I will see you again. Hope you've enjoyed that. As I say, I don't do many bonsai vids. I will do a bonsai update in the not too distant future, just to show how the trees have leafed out and are, you know, pushing on with their spring growth, which again is the nice fresh green, so it's good to see. So I'll do that in the not too distant future. But that's really it. That's all that's going on at the moment. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for dropping by.